Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everybody's having a great week. Had a great weekend. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Right? You can hear me? Good.
Yeah, we got you.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, hope you guys are having a great weekend. Had a great weekend. Getting ready for this basketball season. We're excited. And tonight we're going to have a special presentation from one of our IAABO leaders, Miss Charlene Shepard. She's going to come and talk to us this evening, give us some training. Um, I'm actually at one of my meetings in person, so I won't be on the call very long, but again, you're going to be in capable hands of Charlene Shepard. She's going to definitely take us to the next level with this awesome training that she has in store for us.
My bad.
So, all right. So before she comes on, before we get started, anybody got any questions about anything, any situations?
So far, no, not that I know of.
Okay. So you guys been ready for, got the new rules, understand everything for the new rules and all that good stuff?
Yeah, from what I've heard, not too many of them are too different.
Okay. All right.
I've got the books in front of me though.
But definitely stay on top of those rules.
Yep.
You know, because they can get a little tricky in real time.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to, break down the videos and go to the RefQuest and study your videos for all the IAABO members. For those that are not IAABO members, I would strongly encourage you to become IAABO member. Again, we have a group here in Illinois, Board 265, and it's only $35 a year, but you get tons of resources. If you've been those current IAABO members that are on the call, you've been getting emails about the different speaker series when we have different NBA and collegiate officials talking about various topics.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen them.
And hopefully you guys have been taking some notes from that and been learning from that information. Again, all that's there to help you guys, get better at officiating and understand the nuances of what we do. Because it's very important that we understand the nuances of all these various things that we're doing on and off the court so we can be very effective at our jobs. So hopefully you guys have been taking advantage of that information and, taking good notes, referring back to those videos as often as possible. Again, if you know any other basketball officials that may be interested in trying to become better officials and get better at the craft, highly encourage you guys to spread the information about becoming IAABO members, because again, it's all about helping you guys get better so that we can help you guys move up that ladder of officiating to accomplish whatever goals that you have in mind.
Hey, Clarence.
Yes.
This is Paul Schaefer. Hey, I got my IAABO book,
Hey,
and in the book was a 75 question sample exam with a little tear off perforation yes and no answer sheet.
Yep.
And I'm assuming they meant for that to be mailed in or something.
No, that's for you to take.
Well,
So they give that to every member, and it's more of a self test. Basically, you kind of test yourself on your rules knowledge.
but how do you know if you got them right or wrong if you don't have an answer guide?
Yeah, I have the answers. I can share those with you guys at a later time. Probably maybe our next meeting. I can kind of go over for those that want to. If you've taken it, obviously, I can go over the answers with you guys. But it'll definitely help increase your knowledge as well, test your rules knowledge. Again, it's an open book test, so you can kind of refer back to your IAABO handbook or the videos to kind of get more clarity on those various questions. But again, it's there to enhance your knowledge, enhance your skill set. So definitely, I would encourage everybody that's an IAABO member to definitely take that exam. Again, it's not, you're not going to get graded on or anything. It's not going to hold you back if you don't do well or whatever. But it just kind of it's just more of a self-examination for us here in Illinois. Now, there are some states that they follow the IAABO system from beginning to end. So that test is actually partly part of what they do, which is equivalent to our IHSA basketball exam. They take that test. So they have to pass that test in order to officiate and get games in other states. But we don't do that here in Illinois. But again, it's just a great way to test your knowledge, to make sure that you are staying on top of your rules, as well as making sure that you are aware of how to adjudicate those rules whenever various situations occur. So highly encourage you guys to take advantage of that. Again, all of the IAABO resources are there to make you a better official overall. There are a lot of things that even as in the IAABO handbook and even that they offer on the website, there's a lot of great things that you'll learn that are not necessarily in the rule book. But those tools and those resources are there to enhance your knowledge and your skill set. So take advantage of that as much as you possibly can. All right, so without further ado, I see our guest speakers on the call. Hold on, let me make you a co-host so that you can do your thing.
Certainly.
How's everything going out there on the East Coast?
It's cold out here.
Oh yeah, it's getting chilly out here in Chicago too. So I definitely know how you feel. I had to wear my skull cap today just to make sure I stay
Oh,
warm.
no, not the skull cap.
Yeah, you know, I gotta dress right now so I can be ready for the season. I don't want to get sick during the season, so you gotta
I
dress
hear
right,
you.
take care of yourself, take your vitamins, stay in the gym, work out, do all those things to keep you healthy to last through that season.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, without further ado, I want to introduce everybody to Charlene Shepard, who is from Connecticut. She's the state interpreter out there in Connecticut. So she kind of does a lot of the things we do here in Illinois as far as observe officials, train officials. She helps us make the selection for officials that work state finals in Connecticut and various things on that level. She is a very knowledgeable person when it comes to officiating. She has a lot of experience working not only at the high school level, but also at the collegiate level. She's been refereeing for a very, very long time. So without further ado, I want to pass it over to Charlene Shepard, and she's going to be talking about incidental versus illegal contact. So take it away,
All right.
Charlene.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you all for having me here tonight. I really appreciate it. As Clarence said, I'm going into my 28th year of officiating. I have been an interpreter now for the last 7 years. This is my 8th year, and I also work as the state interpreter for all of Connecticut. So one of my passions is teaching and training. I do that on a professional level, and so I bring that right over to the basketball side. So I'm gonna share a little presentation with you tonight that I hope you will find helpful to what you need to do in your officiating career. As we are going through this tonight, if you have questions or concerns, then just either pop your question in the chat box, or you can ask me after I'm done with the presentation. So again, I'm going to talk about illegal versus incidental contact. And I think it's important for us to talk about these types of contact as basketball officials, because everyone's very well aware of illegal contact. We blow the whistle all game and assess fouls. But there's a lot of time that contact between two players on opposing teams is actually incidental. And sometimes as officials, we label that as a foul as well. And so I want to talk about that tonight to make sure that everyone's understanding when we're actually should be putting a whistle on a call and when we should be leaving that alone. All right. So again, a lot of what we call as officials has to do with our philosophies around basketball. And I often say that people get themselves in trouble with basketball philosophy more often not because they start moving away from the rules and they start making calls based on what they think, what they feel, you know, the boys game versus the girls game. And again, as I always tell people, there's only one rule in the rule book that differentiates the genders, and that's the size of the ball. Everything else should be consistent across the board. So we have officials that have the mentality that basketball is a contact sport. So all contact either is a foul or it isn't a foul. I saw a little bit of a bump, so that has to be a foul. And again, sometimes it is. Are they changing the RSBQ, their rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness? Are they rerouting the player? Are they impeding their progress? Are they derailing them? So again, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. The worst type of official is the one that has a mentality of there's no blood, so there's no foul. And we all know that that's not a good way to watch a game. But more importantly, the fans didn't pay to see a free throw shooting contest, so we should be letting the players play. My mentality is the fans came to see a game. I'm not really concerned about what they paid to see, because again, if we actually tune in sometimes to what the fans are saying, they don't have a clue what's going on either. So again, we have to be on top of what needs to be called, what needs to be adjudicated. What's a foul in the first quarter means it's also a foul in the fourth quarter. We don't change how we're calling the game just because of the time or the score or whether or not the best player is in the game or not. All right. So what I'm going to go through tonight, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about illegal contact. We're then going to talk about incidental contact. And I think the best way to learn about what is or isn't legal versus illegal is to look at videos, to see that actual contact in play, and then to make a determination, because that's what we're actually doing on the court as officials. So let's start with illegal contact. By definition, the word illegal, it's an adjective. It describes a type of thing. So it's a type of contact. Now, I come from a law enforcement background, so when I'm training law enforcement officials, I tell them that illegal is something that is not according to or authorized by law. In basketball, it means it's something that's not sanctioned by the rules of the game. Okay, so words that we can use as synonyms: illegitimate, illicit, lawless, unlawful, and wrongful. It's things that should not be happening. All right, so by rule, hand checking is a foul. All right, so again, if I'm calling that in the first quarter, I'm calling that in the fourth quarter. All right, now, according to the IAABO rules, guys, and again, in Connecticut, we use the IAABO rules manual, not the Federation rules book. The IAABO rules, guys, states that the following acts are deemed illegal contact: using any part of the body or bending your body in an atypical position to hinder the freedom of movement of an opposing player. And freedom of movement is going to get repeated a lot tonight. Being unduly rough, using a hand to contact the opponent, using hands on an opponent in a way that inhibits their freedom of movement or that aids a player in starting or stopping, using the arms to hinder their freedom of movement. Again, using the arms, or excuse me, the forearms or the hands to prevent them from trying to release the ball on a try for goal. All right, and then if you're using the IAABO rules guide, you can find all that chapter 11, segment 2. All right, in the Crew of 2 manual, it states that an illegal contact is a foul. It's an infraction. So we charge it and we penalize it. That's why you blow the whistle, you go to the table and report it. And it's a personal foul on a player, which involves illegal contact. The ball has to be live. All right, because if it's dead ball contact, it's a technical. Okay, so again, those are little nuances to the rules that we have to be very well aware of to make sure we're adjudicating the rule properly. And again, the ball is live, hindering an opponent from performing their normal defensive or offensive movements, which means illegal contact can be committed by an offensive player against the defense. All right, and that's where the team control fouls come in. All right. And again, as I said, after the ball has become dead, it's incidental contact unless we determine that that contact was intentional or flagrant, which means we're looking at a technical foul situation. All right. Again, there are exceptions to the rule. A defender accidentally contacting the opponent's hand while their hand is touching the ball, incidental. All right, because we'd be calling fouls all night every time somebody touched. All right. And again, as I said, anytime we're making that ruling that the contact is illegal, we're charging them with a foul. It's going to be reported. We know that players get 5 fouls, combination of personals and technical, or if it's deemed a flagrant, then they're automatically disqualified. All right. So from our perspective, what are things that we should be looking for? Anytime there's 2 hands on, 1 hand on, as I always call it, the hot stove rule, player gets the touch. Soon as the hand goes back on, whether it's the same hand or the opposite hand, we're making that ruling. Okay, keeping 2 hands on. As I said, the hot stove rule, a block, impeding their movement, illegally contacting, which inhibits their freedom of movement, a push, a hold, a grab, a trip. Any of that stuff is illegal contact. All right. And then we have to make sure that there's a signal that matches the illegal contact that we're calling. Most important thing about making your rulings for illegal contact is that whatever you're calling at the spot of the foul should be the same thing you report to the table. So if I call hand checking at the spot of the foul, don't go to the table now and call it a hold, because the coach is going to say, well, how could she be holding her, or how can he be holding her? The hands were up. All right, so make sure what you call and assess at the spot of the foul is mirrored at the table. All right, so again, we want to be consistent with the things that we are calling and ruling. All right, now I always say, again, some people are visual learners. Okay, so I like to infuse a little humor into learning. All right, I would venture to guess that if we saw this on a basketball court, we would know that it's illegal contact. All right. So again, if I put you out on the court as an official, whether you're the trail or the lead, and I see a player plow through somebody else, what type of advantage did they gain? Was that legal what they did? Okay. How did that player get to the ground? Did they get there by their own devices, or did somebody do something that put them there? So again, if it looks like this, then it's probably illegal, which means I need to be making a ruling. We shouldn't get caught off guard by players on the floor. And again, I'm not saying that every time a player hits the floor, that something illegal was done, but you need to be able to explain that either to your partner or to the coach. How did the player get there? All right. Illegal contact. Okay. The arm wrapped up. The player can't have any normal movement. So 3 things that you should remember. Did the contact cause that player to commit a violation? Okay. So if I'm the defender and A1 is dribbling and I'm bumping them with my lower body and they travel, did that travel get caused by illegal contact? Because if the answer is yes, then we should have called it a foul. Did the contact cause the player to lose control of either their body or the ball? If the answer is yes, it's a foul. Did the contact impede their freedom of movement? Okay, again, when you're watching a game, you start to figure out who the ball handlers are. You start to figure out who the post players are and how and when they want to score. So if I know 23 White has been driving to the basket all night and already has 17 points by the second quarter, there's no way I'm thinking in the third quarter when 23 White's driving to the basket that they're looking to dish. So I now have to be paying attention to what the defender is doing, because if the defender is doing something to reroute that player from getting to the basket, again, is it impacting their freedom of movement or loss of control? Then it's a foul. We can't just ignore it and say, well, they can play through it. That's not the point. That's not how the rule was written. All right. So now let's look at the opposite of that, and that's incidental contact. So by definition, the word incidental, also an adjective, it describes a type of contact, and it's likely to ensue as a chance or a minor consequence. All right. And then synonyms are accidental, inadvertent, unintended. So again, we know there are times where players make contact with each other, but they weren't trying to do anything. Kids getting screened and they put their hand out so that they know where the screen is, that's incidental contact. Unless they're pushing the screener, they're fine. So again, things that we just have to be aware of. All right. Now, by rule in the rule book, it states that incidental contact is legal contact. Players can touch one another. And again, putting 10 players in a front court area with limited space, there's bound to be contact that's going to occur. All right. And just because there's contact doesn't mean it automatically equals a foul. All right. We know that as soon as those players start moving, trying to run off one another, trying to bump off a screen, trying to do whatever, that there's going to be some type of contact that they're both still in an equally favorable position. They still were able to run, to cut, to screen, to do whatever they needed to do. Nothing for us to worry about. We know sometimes players will raise their hands over their head to play defense, and raising their hands vertically, even as they're going up, they might make contact with a player. That's fine, right? As long as they're not smacking them in the face, that's different, all right? And we also know that sometimes there's going to be contact with the hands or arm. Players, they see that player coming down, they actually put their hands across their chest because they know they're about to get plowed into for that player control foul. They're allowed to do that. They don't have to just take a shot in the middle of their chest. They can actually put their arms up. They're not penalized for that. So again, things that we have to keep in mind that still meet the definition of incidental contact. All right. In the IAABO Rules Guide, it also states that sometimes there is incidental contact or inadvertent contact with the screener. If the screen's outside the player's visual field, provided that the screener is not displaced, okay? If there's contact after the ball becomes dead. So again, we know sometimes players are driving to the basket, we see contact, we blow the whistle for a foul, and the player's momentum keeps going, so they're kind of pinging off one another. That contact would be ruled incidental unless there was something major that happened that we would then change it to an intentional foul or a flagrant foul, or if that contact was committed by or on an airborne shooter, because we know the airborne shooter can't be given an advantage either. Right? And again, hitting the opponent's hand while their hand is in contact with the ball should be deemed incidental contact. All right? And we know a lot of people say, oh, well, the hand is a part of the ball, that should be a foul. Well, you can't foul the ball. That's why it's incidental contact. All right? In the Crew of Two manual, again, it states that incidental contact does not constitute a foul. It is permitted. It's allowed. All right? And again, we know when 10 players in a small space, all moving, there is bound to be some contact. All right, so here's the best way that I like to describe this. Let me finish this up similarly. Again, not hindering their opponents from making normal offensive or defensive movements. And if you're screened within your visual field, then if I see the screen coming, then it is my responsibility to reroute myself. I can't just plow through the screener, because again, that would be illegal contact. All right, so incidental contact. If you've ever gotten on an elevator and it was crowded, I'm telling you, the first thing people try to do when we're on an elevator by ourselves, we'll stand right smack darn in the middle of the elevator because we're not worried. If that elevator opens on the next floor before you get to where you need to go, those two people will actually start to pull further apart because they don't want to touch one another. And the more people that get on the elevator, the more people are trying to move where they're not going to touch anybody. And even if you're the guy on the back of the elevator and you finally have to get off, like there's like 15, sorry, excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to touch, sorry. Okay, that's all incidental contact. Nobody on an elevator wants to touch anybody else. And we're all praying that when we're on the elevator, that the elevator doesn't get stuck. All right, so again, that's how you have to think of it. If I were on an elevator right now, while I'm watching this movement around the court, the players are touching one another. That's fine. As long as they're not grabbing or holding or pushing or pulling, then we're at illegal. All right. This is incidental contact. Two players in equally favorable positions going for the ball. Okay. Let them go. All right. So let's look at some videos now to see if we can distinguish between what's illegal and what's incidental. Okay, so the players will be highlighted and there'll be some stuff on the court so you can kind of pay attention to. Here comes my screener. Okay. All right. So the player from Georgetown is outside the visual confines of the screener. He doesn't know if there's a screen coming. The screener knows where the defense is. Okay. So should we have illegal contact called on this screener? I would say yes. Okay. How did that player end up on the ground? He didn't just decide I didn't want to guard my player anymore, so I'm going to drop to the floor. right? And we got to also look at the positioning of the trail official. Is the trail official in good position to see this screen? I would say yes. So how the trail does not have a whistle on this, and that play is right in front of him. Okay, this can't be a play on. Right? So again, those are the things that we should be looking for. And if I see a 7-footer running out beyond the 3-point line, I already know he's not coming out there to shoot. So I need to get myself into a position where I can see that screen happen. All right? So again, what is going on? What is taking place? What am I looking for? All right? So now we have a video with some incidental contact. Here's my 2 players you're looking at. Shot goes up. We've got a good box out. Center official has a good look on the play. Trail official has a good look on the play. White 23 sticks her hand up for a second, realizes she can't get the ball, leaves it alone. Did black 35 lose control of the ball? No. Did she lose control of her body? No. Incidental contact. All right, and as this plays through again, I'm actually going to start the video again so we can see from the beginning. Watch the center official. When the shot goes up, she position adjusts, or he positions adjusts. Okay? We know on a shot, we should be closing down both the trail and the center because your immediate responsibility becomes rebounding. And that's why they both had a good look on that play. Had they stayed out too far, they would have been straight lined. So this is a very good job of both of those officials getting to where they needed to go. All right. Now, here's my all-time favorite illegal contact video with a no call. Right here, right underneath the basket, right in front of the lead. Tell me what was legal about that box out. Again, we talked about unnatural body movements. Boxing out doesn't require you to bend over. But he used his body to his advantage to keep the rebounder out of position right in front of the lead. No whistle. We can't have this be a no call because if we let this contact go, where is this going to go for the rest of the game? And this is the second quarter. This is going to amp up. Okay, and then we're going to have a flagrant or a technical or a bench clearing brawl on our hands because that kid right now in yellow is going to get tired of that happening. All right, so again, we have to be on top of this type of situation. Here we have some more illegal contact on the rebound. So I think the player's down low, yep, on the box. So we're going to have a shot from the corner. And already look at what the defense is doing. Arms wrapped around. That's not a normal position. Okay? So 41 White is never going to be able to make a legal move towards the ball because she's already being contained. All right? Now we got the trail. Watching the rebound now because White comes over the top and now we have the call on White. But how did we not have a call on Black right from the start? So let's watch that again. So this is the trail's responsibility right here. Watches the shooter, watches the release, and then turns towards the rebound. How does she not see those two arms pointing right back towards her? Okay, so that's not a good box out. But we send the message to the player in Black that that's a good box out because we didn't assess a foul for illegal contact. Now White gets called for the second movement. All right, so again, this is right here starting the first quarter. So we have to be on top of this call at the start of the game so that this type of behavior, this type of illegal contact does not continue. All right. All right, we got another play here. Illegal contact on the rebound, right in the middle of the key. All right, so trail official has a great look on the play. But again, I just talked about what should happen when the shot goes up. The trail official should have been closing down. He's going to have the same look on that play. He's going to make the same call on that play, but he's going to be in better position to do it. All right. So again, let's watch this play. Okay. Great call. And again, if you watch the coach's reaction, the coach knows right away that his player is not in good position. Okay. All the trail had to do, position adjust towards the 28-foot mark. He's going to get the same look on that play to make the exact same call. He's going to get it right, but he's got to get in the correct position to make that call. Now, why I like using this video, the gentleman in the video is my assistant interpreter on my board, and that's me on the end line. So again, one of the good things about being someone who does training is you can take your own videos, whether you're doing it right or doing it wrong, and use it as a training aid, because again, sometimes we get it wrong too. I have never had a game where I was 100% correct on every call. There are calls I always leave the game with and go, could I have changed that? Should I have been in better position? All right. So again, we use this as a training tool because again, I have thousands of videos, but why not put myself in a video to say, this is what it should look like. This is how it should be done. So for those of you who are ever concerned about, somebody critiquing your video, that's the best way to learn, is to see what you're doing and then learn from it. Because if you can't learn from your own mistakes, why would you want to learn from mine? Okay, you can, but it's better to see yourself in action, and then it makes more sense to you, especially because you were on the court. You're probably going to remember what was going on in that game. All right. All right, here's some incidental contact. Okay, vertical. Okay. She remained vertical. Was there a little bit of contact? Yeah. Did it prevent the offensive player from being able to go back up and put the ball up to score? Nah. Look at the lead. He's right behind the defense. So he can't tell whether or not there was any other type of contact. So in all actuality, the lead official guessed at this call. If anything, the trail, who is way out, should have, again, positioned adjust, closed down, would have probably had a better look on this. Okay, and this is one of those calls where the lead either needs to not blow the whistle or not blow the whistle and trust that if something was happening on the front side, let the trail get it. Okay, but again, don't be afraid to not pass on a call because you don't have a good view of the contact. Because I can tell you, if I'm the coach right now in this game, I'm going to ask that ref, what did my player do? And whatever he's about to tell me, I don't believe it. Okay, because I know there's no way you can see between those bodies. You're behind them. Okay, so again, let's get in good position so we can make a good call. All right. Now, here's some severe incidental contact. And this happens more than not in games where there is incidental contact and it's severe. And because everybody in the gym reacts, people assume that we should have blown the whistle. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a great no call by the trail. So let's look at the video. The screener did absolutely nothing wrong. He was outside the visual confines, but he never moved. He let the ball handler drive the defender to him. If anything, this kid, who was guarding the big kid, should have yelled out screen. The kid with one leg sleeve on. Okay? Okay, so 11 White let his teammate take a licking. because he didn't yell out. And then his help defense was twice as bad. Okay. But again, we see this type of play happen in games and everybody reacts. But the screener did nothing wrong. So that's an example of severe incidental contact. We can't penalize the defense because the offense was not paying attention the way they should have. Okay? So again, or excuse me, can't penalize the offense because the defense was not doing what they should have done. All right? So let's be mindful of those things as we're going on. So again, now taking into consideration all those videos, you should be thinking about as an official when you're on the court, when is contact most likely to occur? Because it's very simplistic. Screening, we just saw that. Drives to the basket. Loose balls. Rebounding. We saw several videos of rebounding where there was contact. The pass and crash. Okay, who's got the block? Who's got the charge? Okay, so again, those are all things that you have to keep in mind. So I always say that as officials, we have to make sure we get the calls right. Okay, and in order to judge illegal versus incidental, you have to understand the nuances of the rules. Okay, you have to make sure that is going to boil down to one thing, and that's freedom of movement. And I talked about that at the beginning. Players need to be able to move north and south, right to left, east and west, forward, backwards, however they want to move on the court. As long as it's a normal basketball movement, we have to allow players to be able to do that freely without their movement being impaired. As soon as it's getting impaired, you have to start asking yourself, why isn't the ball handler going right off that screen? Are they being held? Are they being rerouted? And nowadays, a lot of players, they're learning how to play defense with their hands straight up in the air, but everything from their belly button down is rubbing against the other player. We have to be mindful of that. We have to get eyes on that so that we're not allowing a player's freedom of movement to be impacted illegally. All right. So again, I talk about vocabulary. RSBQ is a player's rhythm, speed, balance, or quickness being disrupted, because if it is, illegal contact. RID, being rerouted, impeded, or displaced. If that's happening, again, I've got a ball handler that's been driving down the lane all game and scoring, and then all of a sudden they're driving down the lane and they end up to the right of the lane or the left of the lane, but you know they weren't trying to do that. Illegal contact. All right. So again, those are all things we have to be paying attention to. And again, not just with the offensive player, with the defensive players as well. All right. We have to be patient on the court. All right. And again, blowing that whistle without being patient is the difference between you guessing, like the lead official did on that last play, where there was incidental contact, or watching the play start, develop, and finish because I moved myself to a position on the court where I could see between the two players I want to see between, and now deciding if that contact is legal or illegal, illegal or incidental. So have a patient whistle. And I much rather you come up with a quote unquote late whistle and be right than to have a quick whistle and be wrong. Okay, so again, patience is a virtue. And again, our responsibility, our role as official is to manage games, to be able to effectively communicate with the players, the coaches, the table personnel, and to also make sure we're getting it right before someone gets hurt. So the premise becomes, if you know it, when you see it, then you'll call it or not call it, not rule on it appropriately. All right. We want to strive to be accurate and consistent with the rules, how we're calling them, first quarter to fourth quarter, game 1 to game 10, regular season to postseason. We also want to do that as a crew. You want everybody on your board to be doing that. You want your whole state to be doing that. Okay. And as officials, as an IAABO official, I want every IAABO official, whether they're in Connecticut, whether they're in Missouri, whether they're in California, I should be able to go out to every state and observe games and go, okay, they've got this. All right. So again, we want to be consistent. All right. Now, again, as I talk about exceptions, all right. So if you look at the picture on the left, that's from a rec game. All right. If I've got kids that have never really played structured and skilled basketball before, I'm not going on the court that night and starting to call all those illegal screens because everything is probably illegal. They have no idea what you're talking about. And you're not there as the official to give a clinic. Okay. But if I got the Friday night game, varsity, okay, they should know the difference between incidental and illegal contact. So I'm calling it. So again, I'm not saying that it's not a rule. I'm just simply saying if they're third graders and they're dribbling the ball with two hands, like incidental contact and illegal contact is probably going to be the least of your concern that night. You want the clock to run. You want them to try to score, and the final score is probably going to be 6-2. Hip hop, hooray. Friday night, big game. The gym is packed. You couldn't even find a parking spot when you got there. We're calling illegal contact that night. I'm not giving players a pass because the gym is packed and I want to make sure I get that coach's game again. That's not what it's about. The coach will have more respect for you if you call the game the way it needs to be called than instead of calling it because of the way you think they want it called. Just be consistent with what you're doing. All right? And that's the IAABO way. Okay? So we're going to apply the rules based on the rules, not on your personal concepts, not on your theories, not on your opinion, not on your philosophies. Do it by the rules. All right? And then how do you make sure that you're making an accurate ruling? Get into good position. Be able to see through the play. Get an open look versus straight line. Focus on matchups in your PCA. Again, I would say by the 4-minute mark in the first quarter, you should know who the ball handler is. You should know who the post player is. You should know who the three-point shooter is. If you got those down, it's going to make the game a lot easier for you. You want to anticipate the play. If they've scored off of calling green 5 times and they call green the 6th time, then you should know who's got the ball, who's coming to screen, who's going to be scoring. So you want to anticipate the play so that you know where you should be getting your eyes. Do you know what you're looking for? Are you ready to blow the whistle? Can you explain your call to the coach if necessary? All right. So again, things to remember. Illegal contact is always a foul. Incidental contact is always legal. And in order to understand the difference between the two, you have to know the rules. You have to get in good position. You have to allow for freedom of movement with the offense and the defense. Anticipate the play, not the call. Understand that the calls are going to vary depending on the level that you're working on. Okay? And that's it for tonight. Are there any questions or concerns?
I think
All right, so I see in the chat box, someone said hand check versus push when guarding the post, 2 hands in the back. So I would say if let's say you're the lead official and the defense has 2 hands in their back, I would call a push because chances are, what are they trying to do with that post player? They're probably trying to move them away from the basket so that they don't have as easy as a drop step or whatever. So I would call a push. You won't go wrong with the hand check, but I would call a push on the post versus the ball handler, dribbler. 2 hands on, I'm calling hand check because that's out in the open where everyone can see. Okay, and that's a great question. It also says when defenders go A to B, to the opponent, would you consider that a push? All right, so A to B or a block. Example, the defender bumps player out of bounds. Okay, so I would say I would probably go with either, and you said this, you would go with a push because it's not with the hands. I would definitely not go with a hand check. It could be either a push or it could be a block because, again, they're using their body illegally. How did that player get out of bounds? So, again, you could say a push if their hands are involved. If it's not involving their hands, I would go with a block because that means they're not in legal guarding position. And, again, remember with legal guarding position, you have to obtain it first, and then you have to maintain it. And in order to obtain it, you've got to get there 2 feet on the ground facing your opponent. And then once you obtain it, obviously you can move. You can move back, and you can move side to side, and you can move obliquely. What you can't do is move forward into the player, because once you're moving forward, then that is probably going to create illegal contact. But that was a really good question. I hope I answered them all for you. Any other questions or concerns? Oh, I see another one. What would you call as a foul in the video where the player boxing out bends over? That's a block. It's a block. Okay, that's the easiest call. It's a block. You can't defend anyone legally on the basketball court bending forward. Okay, so that would be a block. Okay, another great question. And that's exactly how I would explain it to the coach. Coach, that's not legal guarding position. And again, most of them aren't going to question you on that, because they don't, when you start getting past 3 to 5 words, they don't have too many questions for you. So I would just tell them when they're like, well, what is he doing? Coach, he's not in legal guarding position. You can't box out by bending over. You're placing that player at a disadvantage while you're gaining an advantage. That's the rule. All right. But again, another great question. All right. What else you got for me? Anyone else? Anything else?
When's the next Zoom meeting?
You have to speak to Clarence about that.
I think you did a fantastic job. It's my first time on it. I'm a new member. I thought you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And as I told Clarence and them, I met them this year at Colorado Springs at our fall conference. And I did tell them, I'm like, you can call me at any time. You know, I have a wealth of knowledge that has been shared with me. And so I don't mind sharing it and giving it to the next person, because why have information and not make sure everybody can have it? So the fact that Clarence, texted me this afternoon and said, please tell me you're available tonight. I need you in a pinch. And I was just like, tell me what you need. So again, I'm glad that I was able to have it work out to be here with you tonight. And again, if at any point in time I can be of assistance to you all again throughout the season, please speak to Clarence and his staff, and I will have no problem coming back. Again, I love to teach, I love to train, I love to share. And again, for me, it's about making sure your questions are answered so that when you go out on the court, you feel as comfortable as you need to feel to do the task that we're hiring you to do. So like I said, anytime I can be of assistance to you, please don't hesitate.
Thank you so much, Charlene.
I do have one question. Another question.
Sure.
Okay, what do you call it? The hot stove rule, where you touch a kid, but you don't leave your hand up, so you're not impeding. But you do this several times. Can you do that? Just that one time, 2 times?
Nope, at one time. Hot stove. So again, that's how we actually, explain the rule to our coaches here in Connecticut. We call it the hot stove rule. So I always say to them, if you have a small child, how many times are you going to let them touch the hot stove before they learn their lesson? Once. You're only going to let it happen once. And chances are, if you're actually paying attention, you actually start to see the kid moving towards the stove. And what do you say to your kid? And that gets their attention, and they freeze for a second. Then they try to do it again. Nope. And you stop them again. Again, they might do it, but I only want them to do it once. So I let the defense touch once. And then as soon as they touch a second time, same hand, opposite hand, both hands, extended forearm, boop, you make that call. Because again, if you get it early in the first quarter, the players will start to adapt and adjust. If you let them do it all game, and now you got a close game in the fourth quarter and you start calling it, the crowd's going to have a problem. The coaches are going to have a problem, because now they're going to be saying you're not letting them play. You're changing the outcome of the game. So call it early, let them adjust. Now, here's the thing. If they don't adjust, guess what? Keep blowing the whistle.
Gotcha.
Okay. But at some point in time, they have to adjust. We can't just let them modify the rules because they don't like what we're calling. All right. So again, I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Thank you. It does.
Absolutely.
Awesome job, Charlene. Thank you so much for helping us out tonight. We really appreciate it. Hopefully everybody's got a lot of great information from her for training of incidental versus illegal contact. Again, this information is here to help you guys learn how to officiate and take your officiating skills to the next level.
Hey, Clarence, who is that?
Absolutely.
Any more questions?
Clarence, who is that? Who is that speaking?
Charlene Shepard. She's from
I know her.
Connecticut.
I know her. She's important.
That's Tracy, Charlene.
I know it is. He being a smart ass.
Hey, honey.
Hey, Tracy.
Love you. You can't do nothing about it.
I know. I love you too.
Okay,
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
guys are the best. I appreciate this. So,
Thank you
like
so
I said,
much.
at any time during the season, you let me know. I'll come back.
Appreciate it. We're definitely going to have you back, and we're going to have you do some more training for our staff here and our officials as well, so we can get everybody ready for the next level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Charlene. And once again, appreciate it. I hope everybody on the call. This call is being recorded, so I will be sharing this out with everyone. Once we I'm leaving my in-person meeting shortly, so I'm head on home and get everything situated. But I'll definitely be sharing this out. We'll be posting it on the YouTube page. So for those who want to go back and revisit the information, feel free to go back and take great notes and make sure that you add this to your toolkit, because again, this is what it's about, adding those different tools. So when we're on the floor, we have a variety of tools to use to help us get through various situations.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Hey,
Well, thanks again, everybody, for being on the call. And we'll wrap it up tonight and see you guys next week. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good evening. Good night.